Hello everybody. Today we are going to be reviewing Top Gun Maverick. So I did just go see this movie. Obviously when this review comes out, it'll be probably about I usually like to give them about a month between, just so everybody kind of has time to go see the movie. I know some people put out the reviews right away, but I like to talk about what goes on in the movie, so I like to give it a month, because then that way I think that's probably fairly reasonable for spoiler free for anybody who wanted to go see it originally, at least. And if you're wanting to go see it, I guess kind of maybe telling the story a little bit does, at least in my perspective, it kind of does make me really know if I want to go see the movie. Am I going to be immersed in the story, or am I just kind of going to be sitting there going, man, well, this was a movie that happened. Anyway, that's just my opinion on it. So, as we know, obviously Tom Cruise is reprising his role as Maverick, but this movie was a little different, and Val Kilmer was back in it as Iceman, which I was actually surprised about because I didn't know he was going to be in it. I tried to keep as spoiler-free as I could. And then we had John Hamm as Admiral Bo Cyclone Simpson, I'm assuming was his name. And then we had Bashir Salhuddin, I'm going to say, was Hondo, or Bernie Coleman, as we knew him. Now, was he in the first movie? I can't remember whether there was a character named Hondo in the first movie or not. There must have been, because they seemed pretty close. Then we had Charles Parnell as Admiral Solomon Warlock Bates. So all these guys have their call signs in there. And then we had Monica Barbaro as Natasha Phoenix. So Phoenix. Jay Ellis as Payback. Danny Ramirez as Fanboy. Or Mickey Garcia. Jay Ellis as Ruben Fitch, I guess. Oh yeah, Lewis Pullman as Robert Bob Floyd. So Bob was his call sign, which was kind of funny. Glenn Powell as Jake Hangman Sears. And I guess that was basically the main cast throughout the movie. I believe. The rest of them were all kind of... Oh, and then obviously... Where the heck is Rooster? Oh, right. And then Miles Teller as Bradley Rooster Bradshaw. So we know that he is Goose's son, as we find out throughout the movie, and then Jennifer Connelly as Penny Benjamin. So, and obviously we know that Maverick's name is Pete Mitchell. So, this movie, right off the bat, when I was on the way to the theater with my dad, I was kind of saying that I was going to be disappointed if they didn't have the Danger Zone song there at one point, because it was such a big part of the first movie. And this movie actually, with the musical scores, it started off with the exact same intro theme, exact same kind of title font and everything. So it was really throwing it back to the original film for sure. And they started off on the, I'm not sure, I don't think it was the Enterprise, the same ship or anything, but it was a naval ship that they started off on, showing all the planes taking off and so on and so forth. And so Iceman decides to call Maverick back to Top Gun to teach this time not to fly, because he's never given up his status as captain, even though he should be like an admiral, or I believe that's what the other guy said to him, was that he should be at least like a 2-star admiral by now. If I'm not remembering the title correctly, forgive me, because I know he said 2-star, and he's just stayed as a captain. He's a very decorated captain at that, but he's always just stayed because that's where, or stayed with that status, or stayed in that position because that's where he feels he belongs. And at the very beginning of the movie, they're trying to do this mission when Ed Harris's character, I forgot about that. Chester Hammer Kane comes in. So, what was his title? Or ADM. I'm not sure what that exactly stands for, but anyway. So he is, I guess, coming in to shut down their program because they haven't hit the 10G mark yet, and they're testing 9Gs today to see if it's possible. But obviously, as we know, Maverick, he's reckless, so he says, do you want to see 10Gs? I'll give you 10Gs. And gets to 10Gs, and obviously Kane seems pretty happy with that. He's upset that obviously they went about the mission without him obviously approving it. That's for sure, because he was coming to shut it down. But then obviously we know Maverick's reckless behavior turns into the plane exploding and him having to eject because he pushes it past 10Gs. I think it was at like 10.4 and everything just goes out. And then he lands in the middle of it. He doesn't even know where he is. He just lands somewhere and walks into this restaurant and grabs a glass of water off of the tray that the lady's carrying, and then he goes, "Thank you. Where am I?" And the kid in the restaurant turns to him and goes, "Earth," because he's in a giant like space flight suit. So this movie had a lot more laughs than the first one, that's for sure. The first one seemed to be kind of taking itself. Not to say that this movie wasn't serious, because the main mission, the main story was serious, but there was a lot more comedy in this one, I felt. And one of the cool things before the movie even started was a little message thing on the screen where Tom Cruise was talking about how they've been working on this movie for 3 decades, and they really wanted to bring you the best experience they could, because I know Tom Cruise is crazy when it comes to working on films and stuff. Yeah, like he really works hard at his craft, that's for sure. One of the best in the business to ever do it, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, you can really tell that they worked hard on this film, and it was with real planes, like real G's, like he said. And I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere that he was actually flying the plane for at least part of this movie. Now, to tell you what scene it was in, or whether he was doing it for the entire movie, I'm not sure, and I'm not really sure how many of the other ones would have been flying the planes themselves, too, so that's kind of cool to know, because I know that Tom Cruise really immerses himself in his own stunts and stuff, and doesn't really let a lot of other people, doesn't let anybody else do his stunts for him. He really wants to be in the driver's seat when he's doing his own movies. So I would imagine that some of the other guys probably stepped up, same with Mission Impossible, because I know that Mission Impossible crew has said when Tom is doing his own stunts, it's kind of hard not to want to do your own stunts too, to stay on his level. So yeah, I would imagine some more news is going to come out about who was actually flying the planes, and yeah, like what scenes they were actually in them, and so on and so forth, because it was a really cool movie. So, where was I in the storyline? Right, so he gets called back to Top Gun to teach, and one of the students is Goose's son, Rooster. And obviously Rooster doesn't forgive Maverick for what he's done, even though it really wasn't Maverick's fault. I mean, he couldn't keep control of the plane. There was no way to keep control of it. They had to eject, and it was just a tragic accident, unfortunately, for his co-pilot. Yeah. But I guess after Goose's death, the mother, what was the mother's name? Anyway, Rooster's mother told Maverick that she didn't want him to ever be flying, so he pulled his papers from the Naval Academy to set him back 4 years, but he ends up still flying anyway. And then by the end of the movie, when they're going on their final mission, he decides that he wants Rooster as his wingman. So the wingman is the plane that I guess is your protection or whatever, so you never want to leave your wingman, and you don't want, obviously, your wingman to be leaving you, right? So Rooster seems to have a problem with speed and trying to decide when to take a shot and so on and so forth, and the other guy that is always competing with him, Hangman, seems to always leave everybody behind and kind of does his own thing, but he's the only one with a confirmed kill so far in the movie. And then when they do their final mission, it is intense. Obviously, John Hamm's character, Cyclone, decides that he is going to, after Iceman dies, he basically throws Maverick to the side again, and Maverick comes back and steals a plane, for one, and proves that he can get the mission done in 2 minutes and 15 seconds by himself. So that's pretty crazy. And the mission was to fly through the canyon, because they had to fly at 100, what was the something deck. I believe. Oh, God, I can't think of the name of it. Oh, God. I'm going to have to look this up. The hard deck, right. The hard deck is the lowest that these planes are supposed to be able to fly, so it's supposed to be 5,000 feet is the hard deck, and they're not supposed to fly any lower than that, obviously for the safety of the pilot and obviously the safety of the jet, because so many things could go wrong, I guess, how low to the ground. But they have to be flying at 100 feet through this canyon, so he's trying to prove that that can be done, and you can just see how fast he's going through the mission, and he does it with 36 seconds left or something, I think, to spare. So that was pretty crazy. So then, obviously, John Hamm's character ends up putting him as the leader of the mission, and he gets to choose who he's going to take with him. And he ends up having to save Goose during the mission, obviously because the 5th gen planes that they're going to be up against aren't, their fighter jets aren't even going to be in comparison with them. So yeah, Maverick ends up having to save Rooster, and then Rooster goes back and tries to save him, even though he has no missiles, no defensive measures left, and he ends up getting shot down too. And that was one of the funnier scenes as well, was when he runs after to find Rooster and then pushes him back into the snow and goes, "What are you doing? I saved you." And Rooster goes, "No, I came back to save you." And he goes, "What were you thinking?" And Rooster says, "You told me not to think." So the entire time Tom Cruise is just sitting there going, "Oh right, I did tell you. I did tell you not to think." So yeah, I guess, my God, my nose is really running today. So I guess I can't really say anything else. He just says, "It's good to see you then." So then they have to break into the enemy's base that they've just blown up the entire airstrip, and they have to steal an old F-14. And they end up knocking the front tires off of it, and then they end up having to fight 2 of the 5th gen jets, because when they catch them in the air, they realize they're not even on the same team. So they have to, they have to fight them off without dying. So that was a crazy scene too. And then at the very end of the movie, Hangman ends up saving them because it looks like they're about to die, and I was like, he's probably been released off the ship, and he's probably going to end up coming in and blowing up the last 5th gen plane there. So now he has 2 confirmed kills, and yeah, that would be 5 for Maverick. So the girl at the end of the movie says to Hangman, Phoenix says to Hangman that Maverick is now an ace because he has 5 confirmed kills under his belt. So yeah. And then obviously Hangman and Rooster shake hands, so kind of very similar to what happened between Iceman and Maverick at the end of the first movie. And then obviously Maverick gives Rooster a big hug, and I think he's finally kind of let go of what has been happening, or what has happened over the years. And unfortunately, Val Kilmer's character Iceman dies, and I'm not really sure what happened to him over the years, but I'm assuming that he Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened. He had some sort of disease or something. They didn't really touch on it, I guess, but I guess it was hard for him to talk. And he did speak a little bit, but not too much in this movie. It was mostly just typing. And yeah, without Iceman there, obviously Maverick had a harder time of getting in there and showing the students what to do. And he only had 3 weeks to show them this mission where they have to drive through the canyon, over one side of the mountain, down, hit the target with 2 sets of missiles to blow up this uranium, I believe, uranium plant. And then the second set of missiles has to go down the hole that they've made and into the uranium plant and actually blow it up. Now, they are obviously successful in the mission, and Rooster has to make the shot blind, so I was really kind of holding my breath during that scene, because I was like, oh my god, he never just takes a shot blindly. He always has to think about it and think about it and think about it, but he didn't think in this time, he just did, so that was pretty cool. And then obviously all the missiles from the locking systems after they end up going past the radar at the end of the mountain. Yeah, I'm not really sure if there's any other way around that, because I'm not sure they could have pulled quick enough to actually just go back down the other side of the mountain. Obviously at 10 Gs you're going to be going super fast up one side of the cliff, so I'm pretty sure if you did that you would end up probably passing out from the force, because a couple of them almost did, so that was pretty crazy. And obviously the scene where the bird hits the plane and Phoenix and her co-pilot almost die, and then one of them gets stuck in G-lock and he almost plummets to the ground. So yeah, that was a crazy and wild scene, because Maverick had to save them both. Just absolutely nuts. So yeah, there was a lot of emotion in this movie. I felt a little bit more than the first movie, because obviously they're telling the story of the new people, and you can see Maverick kind of hurting when he's reliving all his old memories and trying to finally let go of the past and so on and so forth. So yeah, there was definitely a lot more emotion in this film, and I'm guessing Penny is his new girlfriend, who he's just obviously met in this 30 years, and she has a daughter, and I'm trying to remember the daughter's name. Oh yeah, right, Amelia was the daughter's name, and he says that he's never going to leave Penny again, and then when he jumps out the window at the house, Amelia's standing right there, and she just says to him, "Don't break her heart again." That was a funny moment too, because you weren't expecting her to be standing right there, but he just jumps down and looks in, and all of a sudden she's just standing right there, and she goes, "Just don't break her heart again." So yeah, but they did end up being together, because she comes back to him at the end of the movie after going on this sailing trip with Amelia, and I guess she had, obviously because she knew that Maverick might not be coming back, but it ends up that Maverick and Rooster end up working, or I guess kind of build a relationship together at the end of the movie as kind of like a son and father type deal. And then I think that was pretty much it, other than, yeah, that was it. They were successful in the mission, and I think I've talked about the music now, so I gave this movie a 10 out of 10. I thought it was a little bit better than the first one. Not quite as slow of a start, and yeah, you could really tell how much time and effort they had put into this film, so this is why this one is probably a little bit of a longer review. And yeah, I think it was more of a memorable movie, to be honest, just because of all the stuff that had happened over the 30 years, obviously, that he had been in the Naval Academy, so that was pretty crazy. Yeah, I guess that's it, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye-bye for now.